We're all about the Archers. I'm Philippa, and I'm joined with Lauren and Quentin today because we are here to talk to the man. He's escaped Shula, but he hasn't escaped our podcast. Michael Lumsden, who plays, of course, the vet Alistair Lloyd. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Delighted to have you. Well, we need to cut straight to the chase here, Michael. Right. And I have to ask you straight off, who's the better vet, Alistair or Jakob?
Funnily enough, you just beat me to it, but I was going to start by saying I've got a bone to pick with you because I listened to a bit of your interview with Jakob. And I have to say, I think you've got this horribly wrong. I might bow to his better skills with horses. Although I have to say this is one of those wonderful Archers things, the way over the years something is established and then at the drop of a hat it can change because it suits a storyline. And I love the way it happens, and we have to kind of go with the flow. But I mean, Alistair actually was married to Shula for 20 plus years, running a stable and dealing with the horses every single day. And then when Jakob joined the practice, there was sort of various kind of, we don't really know who's doing what and all that. And then suddenly it turned out that Jakob was absolutely brilliant with horses. And Alistair became rather incompetent with horses, which I found baffling because he has done this for so long. But that's the way it goes. But no, it was talking about Stella's dog that I was hurt.
Yes.
On Alistair's behalf.
Yes, Weaver.
Because he has very rarely failed with a pet. I think he's pretty good with the pets. He's pretty good with the cows. And my feeling is that Jakob is maybe not quite so good at that. But I also love Jakob, I have to say. I think...
But I have to say, Alistair gets a lot of stick from some listeners who are qualified vets who do not like his approach. I mean, I have to convey this to you, Michael.
Yeah, I find this very odd, actually. I occasionally read some of these things where somebody, and I might sort of by accident see something on Twitter. I'm always a bit puzzled by it because I'm never allowed to say a word that is actually specifically to do with veterinary practice that hasn't been run by a vet. Oh. So... and I have often said I can't say this line like that, and they go, no, you have to, because that's been put in by the vet. So I'm always a bit surprised when I read these things, going, what on earth is Alistair doing? Yes, there was something recent where somebody got very, very upset about something that Alistair had prescribed or done, and I don't know the truth of it. I do remember once talking to a real vet and laughing about the fact that in general, just particularly on the farm, if there's a problem, I reach for the antibiotics. And I don't know how many times I've said, I'll just give him some antibiotics. And it's like, that'll sort it. And I said this to this proper vet, and she laughed and said, well, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
That's it.
So there we go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also know a little bit more about vetting, and if you yourself, as Michael, have pets. Are you an animal lover?
I am. I have always had cats.
Same.
And my wife and I, since we've been together, I think within a few months of getting together, we had two cats, and apart from a brief period of a couple of years, I think. We have always had them, and we do now. We have two rescue cats, completely contrasting characters. A rather shy female who never leaves the house, and a very long-haired black male, who was apparently found in the grounds of Sky Sports as part of a feral colony.
Oh,
I know, it's quite dramatic.
Yeah.
And he hid under the bed for over 2 weeks after he first came to the house, and then finally ventured out, and now has become a kind of strange mixture, because he, as soon as we get up, he wants to go out. He then doesn't reappear apart from just popping into graze occasionally. And then in the evening he comes in and he just sits on the sofa and absolutely, it's like having a human next to you. He sits under my arm, sort of like a girlfriend. tucked in there.
Oh,
He also sort of gazes up, loving.
yeah.
But then in the daytime, you won't have anything
You
to do
won't
with
see
it.
him, no.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And on any of the trips to the vet with the cats, have you thought, maybe I would have given antibiotics in this instance, but fair enough.
They do, don't they? No, I've usually kept the connection quiet, actually, because I don't want to be found out. But yes, it does always feel a little bit strange going to the vet.
Yeah.
I always feel like it's my territory, and then I realise it's really not.
Well, funny you should say that, because Paul, in his interview to us, said, he now fancies his chances of convincing people that he is a vet.
Oh, I didn't say I couldn't convince people. I would hope I could do that. But
do you think you could walk into a vet's and convince people you're a vet now, share his confidence?
Oh, when it comes to actually how, in terms of actual treatment, probably not.
No.
Maybe in the rest of it.
You could talk the talk. That's
Yeah,
what I think.
exactly. I would hope. I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Big time of you.
Michael, you mentioned that you don't want to necessarily give the game away of the part that you play. Do you ever get sort of stopped? Because, I mean, I remember distinctly at the time when Alistair was going through quite a time, I was shopping with my mother in Birmingham, and she said, if I go to the mailbox and I see Alistair, I'm going to give him a telling off. Do you ever get that?
Occasionally. I've had... That's probably a word I can't use here, but I went to a party once at a friend's house, and he came over to me and he said, oh, would you mind coming to speak to my sister? She's a huge Archers fan. And I said, no, of course not. I'd be delighted. And he said, oh, well, I'll get her over in a minute. And anyway, he brought his sister over and he said, this is Michael. And she went, so why are you being such a... I can't use the word, but she was...
Was that her opener?
It was the opener. That was the opener. It wasn't why is Alistair being, it was why are you being? And this is where the line gets a bit crossed. And it is, as you say, your mum wanted to give... Who did she want to give a piece of her mind to? Was it me or Alistair?
It was. Yes, if she saw you are Alistair.
Exactly,
so yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's that wonderful. It's that wonderful thing with this program, is that in people's minds you are those people, and that's fine, because for the most part people never see us in any other way. I mean, apart from this kind of thing and the occasional publicity photo. We are, and I have also met people who go, I don't want to know that you're Alistair. I don't want to know.
We get that as well,
yeah. And I completely get that. I mean, I'm an absolute lover of radio drama. I think it's best. I think it's just wonderful. And one of the reasons is, it lives in your head, and you do a lot of the work. And I mean, I still remember coming into the green room on my first day. And there were one or two people I knew what they looked like. I'd sort of met them before or worked with them before, but there were others I didn't. And I sat there, and one by one, people started talking, and instantly, you know who they play. But there's also almost like a little sense of disappointment that you're seeing the actor behind the voice. For me.
Yeah, we've got a Facebook group, and when we put up interviews and the actor is in the thumbnail, people are like, oh no, I didn't want to know what that person looked like in some instances.
Yeah, no, I get that. I absolutely get that. And I think it's quite interesting that now there is more of the sort of podcast and the appearances, and the BBC actually do, quite a lot of pictures with advertising for the show.
Yeah.
Because they never used to. And I am sort of with the people who say, no, we shouldn't know what people look like. I don't want people to know that this is what this, that I don't want them to think that this is Alistair when they see me, because Alistair is not this.
No.
I don't know what he is.
Yeah.
I mean, because I would hope that lots of people will have a different view.
Great point.
Yes.
I'm glad we got you on, Michael, because for years this has really bugged me, because it's been a source of great frustration for me that Shula never gave Alistair a fundamental reason why she wanted a divorce. It was just little scraps we were given, but they never actually had a scene where they discussed why she wanted to leave him. Were you equally puzzled by that, and why do you think she wanted that divorce?
I think the writing was on the wall when he made the curry for her.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I think I do.
It was supposed to be
curry that did it.
Supposed to be the. I mean, I have to say, I say that with a little bit of resentment as well, because I personally would be very happy if somebody made me a cracking homemade curry. I think that's a really nice thing to have. But perhaps not Shula, and perhaps not having kind of built it up as though you're about to take her to the best place in the area.
Yes.
Yeah, that was not good.
I thought you were going to say gambling. I wasn't expecting curry. Yes.
Well, I mean, we'd lived with the gambling for such a long time.
That didn't come up, did it?
This is it.
Yeah,
This is
that
it.
didn't come up.
I don't think that was it. I think we got over that. I think we both got tired of having the same conversations over and over again.
Yeah, right. So you almost felt that you got bored of each other, or as characters.
Yeah, I think so. I think they sort of lived alongside one another, and they didn't. It felt to me a little bit like they didn't have a how do I put it? They were kind of peacefully coexisting.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like there was much spark, I think it had rather gone from that relationship.
But I think sometimes when you go through such a big experience, like when Alistair got into debt and they remortgaged and all of that, in a way, although it's all sorted, you feel almost beholden to the person for what they've put up with, and that distorts the relationship as well, and it's not something you can easily come back from.
I think that's absolutely true, and I think that indebtedness Alistair had to feel all his life for the fact that Shula had bailed him out was a very difficult thing for him. I think it can be a problem for married couples within the Archers, that once you marry, your life becomes insular. It was one of the joys for me when the breakup happened was that Alistair became an individual in Ambridge, which is a much better place to be in a way for an actor, because you get, your storylines differ. You get to do different things. And although I'm absolutely loving working with Claire and the Denise storyline, it's like there's a little bit of me going, don't get me down, don't get me into.
Because then they'll become Alistair and Denise rather than
exactly. You become a pair. And your storylines, tend to get a little bit repetitive. When I said that about saying the same things over and over again, I mean, I sort of meant that. Judy and I would occasionally say, I feel that we've had this scene before. You would find yourselves very much repeating similar ground, similar territory.
Yeah.
And obviously one of the joys of this is that you can always sort of move on and there's so many different cast members and directions things go in, that the potential for everything to open out and to keep fresh is great. And it felt a little bit like there wasn't much left in that.
Did you see it coming with Denise? Like, as Michael did you think, there seems to be a little bit of chemistry here between Alistair and Denise? Because I was shocked, really, when it all kicked off.
Oh, no, I sort of did. But I mean, for a start, she'd existed for a very long time without ever being heard.
Right.
She'd been referred to for a long, long time. And then suddenly she's cast and she's in there, and you think, what? You immediately think, why is that? And then there were definitely things I was picking up, and I remember speaking to probably Dave again, and saying, "Oh, is this sort of something brewing here? And is it are you seeing it going anywhere?" And it was sort of pretty clear to me quite early on that was in the offing. But you never know. Again, with this show, it's one of the things. I mean, I can't remember who it was. I think I heard a bit of your interview with Maddie, lovely Maddie, and she was saying how often they'll just hear somebody working with someone else and they'll think, oh, that works rather nicely.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can put them together more often. And you don't know, whether they're going to like that combination. And also, Claire and I are both people who do quite a lot of work outside the Archers. So making sure that we could both be available is not always easy. And the storyline got massively put back. It was all set up, and then nothing happened for about 9 months. And that was because she had a major TV series, and then she went to America with a play she'd done. So I was kept waiting, and at one point thinking, well, are they going to carry on with this?
Yeah.
Like, they might just scrap it. And equally, as I say, I don't know. It kind of came to a nice sort of point of resolution up to a point last summer, but there's lots of open-ended.
There's lots more logistics to work out, isn't there?
Yeah.
You can't just put a few pillows on a sofa and say that's lovely home for both of you.
Well, I was going to say that's something. I do remember quite early on, Shula and Alistair having one of their first fallings out, and it got quite heated, and it went on over a period, and then one episode we painted the bedroom and everything was fine again. It was painted the bedroom and put some cushions around, and the relationship was healed.
Yeah.
And I thought I did feel slight echoes of this as Alistair was turning Jim's house into a love nest. And I thought, oh my God, we're going. Please let's turn this into a repeat.
But I mean, obviously, before Alistair can settle down with Denise, and this vexes many listeners, she must learn how to pronounce Alistair's name. It's not call him Alistair. This vexes many listeners.
I started calling him Alistair.
Not responsible. Yeah, yes, that's a quirk. I don't know if that's a quirk of Claire or a choice. I don't know. But yes, it's quite unusual. I have to say, I got challenged about my weird pronunciation of Denise with the Z on it. Someone actually wrote to me on Twitter, I think, and said, why do you say it in such a strange way? And I went, well, I know it can be said Denise or it can be said Denise, but I've been specifically instructed to say Denise. That was the that was the choice that they had. The name was Denise,
right?
And if we said Denise, we would do a retake. It was I don't know. They're probably easier about it now, but early on, I think they wanted to establish the name. So, I don't know what the answer is to that. Is it a north-south thing? Denise.
I say Denise, and I'm southeast. Yeah, Denise.
Okay.
I would say.
But how do you say
Denise? I had a friend at drama school called Denise with a Z end. Although
Lauren, how do you say Alistair?
Well, I've started saying Alistair, but I probably would have said Alistair.
Yes.
Just Big Al. Big Al.
Michael, I'm interested in your most memorable scenes, because you mentioned about when you first walked into the green room, 28 years ago, it must be.
It is, yeah. December 97 it was.
So what, for you, are the sort of the standout memorable scenes that you've played?
Well, going back a long way, it would probably be early. There were some lovely little scenes in the first sort of romance with Shula, Lakey Hill.
Say no more.
Owl on Lakey Hill. I can remember it's partly what radio does so well. It's those scenes where it's just really atmospheric, and it's not so much kind of dialogue. It's not people talking at each other. It's when there's silences and then little sounds of birds and whatever it is, an owl hooting, and I just love those scenes where the atmosphere does the work. So yes, I can remember, and I really enjoyed doing some of the early scenes with Daniel actually as well. Little when Alistair and Daniel were forming the father-son bond. I guess my son might have been a similar age, so I really enjoyed doing those scenes. More recently, I think it would probably be it would be the Jim abuse storyline, which I mean the three amigos as Jim, Alistair, and Jazza became known as was just joyful to do, and I love working with both of them so much. And those John was just I thought was absolutely wonderful. And the scenes where they actually this is I don't want to get too actory in sort of how interesting characterization is and things, but one thing that happened that I thought was quite odd for Alistair was that what really importantly in his character was that he had this, and I think it's part of his kind of slightly buttoned up nature, was this history of the fact he'd been sent away to school by this very strict father, and there'd been an emotional coldness and very little contact between them. And then Jim arrived in Ambridge, and at first was this rather, that character you kind of understood. And then John very cleverly turned him into someone absolutely lovable. He kept those sort of qualities, but turned him into somebody absolutely lovable. And actually, I found that, much as I love John, I found that quite difficult, because Alistair's character was based on something that we were now seeing we weren't kind of seeing it. We were seeing something much, much nicer. And I thought that the culmination of the abuse story, when the two of them realized how much they meant to each other, actually solved that problem for me. It was lovely, and it was lovely to play, and I think it's allowed for lots of nice stuff to carry on between the two of them.
Yeah, so, it unlocked their relationship, didn't it?
Yeah,
completely transformed it.
Completely, in a
gave you the history,
unexpected way.
Yeah.
But those I think probably that would be my favourite kind of storyline. Horrible though it was, but lovely to play.
And the three amigos now have become a firm favourite amongst the listeners.
I slightly
the dynamic between them is lovely.
It's that thing we were talking about. Now we've got Jazza's now kind of become part of a couple. Alistair's now moving in that direction.
Yeah.
You sort of think, I hope that doesn't mean the end of that.
Yeah,
I don't think it will, because
I don't think so.
I know Jeremy loved that combination, and I would hope he'd be looking out for opportunities for the three of us to do stuff together.
But do you think it's plausible that a professional man in his 60s would still be living in his father's house?
I think it is, and I think it's a dynamic that I enjoy seeing. Yeah. I just wanted to show Michael before my cat disappears. You noticed that there was a little cat there in the corner.
Oh, beautiful.
It's Daphne. And I saw that you clocked her earlier, so I didn't want you to think that.
Oh, she is lovely.
Yeah, she's a rescue as well. She's a lovely girl.
Is she?
Lovely.
She's not just a British...
She's a British Blue, yeah. We got her from a rescue,
Blue,
yeah. So when we got her, we got told that quite often British Blues are stolen from gardens and stuff and taken places to breed. And then when they realise that they can't have babies, and they just sort of dump them, and that's what happened with Daphne. So that's how we ended up with her. But yeah, she's a lovely girl.
They're so beautiful. I mean, they are. I mean, never had one, but they are the most beautiful cats.
Yeah, she's a lovely girl.
Stunning.
Is she full of antibiotics?
Absolutely chock-a-block of them. That's what I give her every morning.
My poor old, I have to give my the long-haired black cat. I have to give him heart pills every day because he has arrhythmia, and I had one of those terribly serious. We took him in for a checkup very early on, and it was during COVID, so we all had to wait out in the street.
Oh.
And the vet came out and said, "Can I have a word?" And took me aside, and I thought, "Oh my God, what's going on?"
Do you have to groom him as well? We had a long-haired Persian before we got Daphne.
Had Persians,
and the grooming. I mean, my God, I used to have to get myself psyched up for it because she hated it so much, but she needed it so desperately.
I seem to have a sort of bag full of actors who do other things who are very useful, because I had an actor who used to come and groom Persians as well. That was his sideline.
Yeah.
Someone I was at drama school with, but no Persians. They are gorgeous.
Yeah, she was a handful, but she was lovely.
No, I don't think I've got any pictures of our old Persian, but he's not as bad as that.
Oh, okay.
He does need.
Yeah,
he gets a bit knotted if you don't give him a brush here and there.
Sorry, I appended your question, Quentin.
Yeah, I've forgotten what it was.
I launched straight into cat chat.
I think we're talking about the Archers still, are we? Anyway, I think I just said...
you're talking to a vet.
Yeah, of course. I just wonder how plausible you think it was that a professional man in his 60s would still be living in his father's house, and the three of you thought it was plausible, certainly Philippa and Lauren. But...
Yeah, I mean... It's a bit peculiar, but I suppose again, I think that probably comes out of this newly discovered bond between the two of them that became possible because of that. I think. I
mean, I like it as a device to keep Alistair and Jim together, and I'm sure that's why it's being maintained. So, because I was a bit worried when Jazza moved out. Oh no, they're going to break up the three amigos, and at least they kept two of you together.
Maybe that's why they did the creating the love nest, so that they can allow Denise into the
the four amigos.
The four amigos.
I mean, Philippa was very upset by the love nest manoeuvrings, weren't you?
It was the movement of bookshelves. Honestly,
yeah.
Alistair was in my bad books for that very much.
It's very difficult, Sometimes we have to do things that we ourselves do not approve of. And I have to say that every word I was saying and every movement I was making was a pain, was causing me pain.
Yes. It was real acting that week.
It was real. That is you might think that the emotional stuff with Jim's abuse story is the real acting. It's not. It's having to believe that it's all right to move all your dad's furniture around to make it.
Very good. I appreciate that.
I don't know.
I had a little look on the Archers website earlier to see what Alistair's faves and not faves are. And
oh God, I think my thing on there is not unchanged. I think it's unchanged in about 20 years.
I was going to say it's boiled Alistair's character down to 2 likes and 2 dislikes, and I was just wondering whether they match up with yours, Michael. So, Alistair's 2 likes are rugby. How do you feel about rugby?
I do love rugby.
Oh,
actually.
Good. Well, there we go.
I'm quite a sport. I was very, very sporty, and I still do love watching rugby. My wife will tell you that weekends around this time of year, luckily today is a break in the Six Nations, but I would be very twitchy if that was on now.
Oh, there we go. So rugby tick, you both like that.
That's it.
And then the second like was roast dinners.
I was going to say, is it going to be pies?
Stodgy pies.
Because Alice has a bit of a thing about pies.
Yeah.
I do love a roast dinner.
The same person. So in terms of dislikes then, number 1 dislike is Shula's do-gooding. How do you feel about Shula's do-gooding?
We're going to find I am Alistair, aren't we? It's just,
yes.
I wouldn't look, not all of it, but I think even the person who actually embodied Shula would say sometimes she was a little bit too good for her own
Fair enough. And then the last dislike he's got, which is quite niche, is TB testing. How do you feel about TB testing?
Oh, I love it.
Well, they look like Alistair.
See, that's the difference.
Good money earner.
There's nothing like the bit of TB testing, is there? No, it gets me out.
There we go. But it doesn't quite match up then.
No, not quite. I love a bit of TB testing myself. I have to say, I love those likes and dislikes. I didn't have anything to do with that. That was done by somebody else. And I do remember once upon a time, it said Alistair's friends in Ambridge, and it had Oliver Sterling as his best friend. And Michael Cochrane and I were laughing about it because we'd only ever had one scene together.
Oh.
And it was a scene in which we were out to dinner. It was him and Caroline and Shula and Alistair, and the two of us were in the gents combing our hair, as you do,
Right.
and having this conversation as kind of best friends. And we were saying we've never spoken before.
Yeah.
We've never
You
had a
bonded
relation.
over that hair comb.
Yeah. And then we never did again. It was kind of just it was put in that one episode, and then I saw on the website that he was my best friend.
Oh.
So those are I quite
Yeah.
like those.
I think they need revising.
Not the likes, though. The likes will be still into
Spot on.
roast dinners and rugby.
I think they will be with me forever. I still like. Yeah, I'm still quite into my sport. I was one of those people who got very upset during the cricket storylines because I was a cricketer, quite a serious cricketer.
Oh, yeah.
And so every time there was something in the script that didn't ring true, again, here you go. This is the real acting, when you have to sort of do a scene at the wicket and people are saying things to each other that you just don't say in
You're in the seat of those vets then now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So where the vets are listeting to you thinking, no, vets don't say that. You as a cricketer.
I think David Troughton said the same to us as well. He's into cricket,
exactly.
isn't he?
He's so deeply into it, and it kind of hurts.
It's painful. It's painful. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I guess that's true of.
It's the sort of thing that Philippa picks up all the time because she loves her sport. She really does.
So can I talk a bit more sport, Philippa?
Well, Michael,
I've just been appointed captain of the Stage Golf Society. You might like to know. Last week.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Wow.
we should form a petition for Alistair to be captain of the cricket team because they need to. But again, because they're replacing Harrison, so
I know.
They should get Alistair
instead
back.
of Vince.
I have to say, being captain of the cricket team was the strangest thing, because Alistair was captain of the cricket team for quite a long time and never achieved anything on the cricket field. It was like, whenever there was the single wicket, he was out in the first round. I think, if I remember rightly, he did actually win it in his final year as captain. I think they felt bad because he'd been captain of the cricket team for about 5 years, and I don't remember him ever scoring a run, catching a catch, taking a wicket, doing anything. There was always somebody was the hero of the day. I thought, I can't believe this man is still the captain because he never does anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, talking of captains, I mean, how did Alistair resist the charms of Laura, who was very sedactive towards Alistair?
Yeah, well, I know there was some talk about that.
She was.
There was. Yes, I got
great self-restraint there.
He's a busy boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I think had he not been completely besotted, I think. And it was interesting when she came back as well.
Yeah, she had 2 goes.
Came back.
She had 2 goes, and he dropped the catch twice.
And there was a little spark, I thought, when she came back.
Yeah, there was.
But maybe all is not as smooth sailing as some people would like.
I would like to see Laura back. I thought she was fun.
You liked her, didn't you, Quentin? I remember.
Yes, I did. Yes.
No, she was great. I think. Yeah. Well, I mean, as I've said, I'm all for things being more complicated. I think as soon as it's sort of solved and settled, it becomes a bit more dull. So I would be absolutely up for Laura coming back and there being a bit of kind of will they, won't they
rivalry.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, Michael, we're about to come on to the questions from our Facebook group, but before we do, just one final question. You've talked sport, so I'm allowed to talk biscuits. And my question
I can
is...
talk biscuits as well.
There we go. What is Alistair's favourite biscuit?
I think Alistair probably likes something quite oaty, one of those, you know, a sort of like a muesli breakfast only in biscuit form.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah,
like
I think
flapjacky.
Oh yes,
drenched in butter and
Jill's flapjacks. I think he would definitely go.
Oh
for
yes, as long as they're not lobbed at him.
Absolutely, as long as it's not under his head.
Yeah.
Well, you might open his mouth just in time. But
Absolutely.
I think that would be. I think flapjacks would definitely score quite highly there.
And what about you, Michael? What's your favourite biscuit?
Oh God, I'm horribly predictable here as a massive chocolate lover. I just cannot resist a chocolate digestive. It's got to be a chocolate. I mean, I've got them. I've got a tin of them in the kitchen.
That's where we're going after this.
I'm sure there'll be one consumed before the end of the day at least.
Milk or dark chocolate?
Well,
Michael?
Yeah, controversial, isn't it? We tend to have milk in the house.
Yeah,
but I have to say, I do like the dark ones as well. And I will occasionally slip a packet of dark ones in against the wishes of everyone else in the house because I do like them.
Right.
I do have I have a horrendously sweet tooth. And the play I was doing before Christmas, the actor sitting next to me actually did sort of confront me before the end of the run. He pointed out that I was constantly bringing in bags of, Cadbury's Whisper Bits and things like that, and opening them and saying, "Here, there's a bag of chocolates for everybody," and then I would eat my way through them personally, which I hadn't realised until he pointed out. But he was quite right. So I do love my chocolate. So probably any biscuit with chocolate on it would do, but a digestive is just unbeatable.
Perfect. Well, we've got lots of questions, Michael, so feel free to give short answers because otherwise we'll be here until there is another rugby match. So, yes.
All right, we'll start with Johnny, Michael, and you sort of answered this already, but he's added something else as well. He says, how is Alistair meant to be pronounced? Different characters use different pronunciations, and does it bother you much?
No, it doesn't. I think it is Alistair, and I'm not quite sure why Denise says Alistair. But no, it doesn't bother me. I'm one of those people. People say to me, "Are you a Michael or a Mike?" And I say, I've answered. I've had periods in my life when I've been one or the other, and now I just kind of don't care. And I feel much the same about that.
Okay.
Sue has asked, "Dear Michael, do you think Alistair would ever return to Lavinia Rafferty for a further quick fling, or is he now fully committed to Denise?"
I think they managed to do everything they wanted to do in that one night.
Covered all the bases. That's all.
I think they covered all the bases, all the conversation that they probably had to exchange in that one night.
And what do you think Alistair finds attractive about Denise?
Oh,
she's very capable, isn't she?
Yes,
she is very capable. Yeah, that's true. Interesting question. Well, I mean, it's a mystery often, isn't it?
She's a good swimmer.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah. She's good underwater.
She's good.
She's good in an emergency.
Capable, good swimmer.
Fits,
I think it's one of those things.
Fits inside a supply cupboard.
Yeah.
She makes a very good sandwich for you.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where you spend a lot of time with somebody and don't realise that I mean, am I trying to say? I think it is. It was a slow burner.
Yeah.
Very slow burner. And I think it's just that moment when you suddenly realise someone you've spent a lot of your life working alongside and just really, just naturally enjoying their company, and you just suddenly realise that you want that to become something more than just enjoying each other's company. And it's a sort of it's a realisation that someone you kind of like is potentially more than that, and then you want to find out.
Very good, thank you. The next question is from Andrew, who says, does Michael think Alistair will ever go solo again work-wise, or is he forever tied to Lovell James because of his financial difficulties?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that, isn't it? As you've said, we're talking about a man in his 60s. I wonder how different things are likely to get because of that. I think it's quite unlikely he's going to strike out on his own again. Although I wonder whether, I don't know how long someone in that kind of setup can go on, age-wise. And I wonder whether there might come a point where he might retire from being a Lovell James vet, but perhaps I don't see him starting up a practice solo. But I can kind of see him being involved in some way as an individual. I don't quite know what it is. I don't see him suddenly stopping being a vet.
He could start a podcast for vets.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'd be good.
There'd be lots of
get Jakob to give better advice.
There'd be lots of bleeps, wouldn't there?
Well, yeah.
Between the vets. Okay, we've got one from Pendragon, and they say, on your IMDb reel, there is a clip where you say, you see what lookers my clients can be. So which of your Ambridge clients are the lookers? Despite her nature, could it be Hilda? Or did Constanza and Salieri flutter their eyelashes at you and win your heart?
Oh gosh, I think those llama eyes have it, don't they?
Yeah,
they are the lookers. Hilda. Hilda, wow. Yes, that's the Hilda scenes are always great fun to do.
I mean, you love cats. I mean, what's the image of Hilda in your mind then?
Oh, I have a very clear image of Hilda, because most of us who have cats have experienced a cat who does not want to be put in a basket and who will scratch the hell out of you and hiss, and that's.
So what breed? What breed?
I see. Well, funnily enough, gingers are usually male, but I see Hilda as a ginger and quite a large cat. I don't know why. I do. I don't actually remember the name now. Was it Hilda? Did Hilda have a brother or sister? There was a cat of Peggy's that I had to put to sleep, and we did the scene, and it was one of the only scenes I ever did with her, with just the two of us. And it was absolutely fantastic doing it, although it's awful.
Yeah.
But, again, it's that sort of the reality, and not what's spoken, but what's unspoken, and the quietness. And I remember that scene really vividly, although I can't remember the name of the cat, which is shocking.
Anyway, Hilda's a ginger cat in your mind.
Yeah, I think Hilda's a redhead. Yeah.
See, I've got Cantankerous Tabby in mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I always saw her as a tabby as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're wrong.
I'm her vet, and I know.
Yeah. No, she is what you imagine her to be.
Yeah.
I've got a question from Ruth, who says, does Alistair still surprise you occasionally after all these years? And do you have any examples of what you wouldn't have expected from him?
Ooh. Well, I think what we talked about with the Jim storyline, I think he found hidden depths in there. I would like him to surprise himself a bit more often, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
but I think there are signs that he's capable of it. I think the way he handled the Schuler's departure. I think the way he's handled the changes in the vet practice and learning to appreciate Jakob, first that was so difficult. And I think, that's the cleverness of the way that the Archers creates these characters. As Jakob came in and it was like, who is this person who can't communicate with anybody and is so tricky, who becomes, the way in which he helped Alistair and Denise to overcome their difficulties and their ability to relate was absolutely gorgeous.
And Paul as well. Yeah, he's in the mix, isn't he?
Mm.
Oh, Paul. I was thinking Paul Venables for a moment. Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. Yes, he is. And I think that again was something that Alistair surprised himself with, that he was, initially so resistant to Paul's flamboyance, and then learned the value of it. I think actually that's, if there's something I like in that direction, it's that he may not be someone who kind of challenges himself to take himself down new paths, but confronted with them, I think he actually handles it quite well, and he has a very open mind, and I think he learns quite quickly. And I think he is an open. I mean, what I like about him is that I think his heart is in the right place. I think he is someone who absolutely wants to do the best for people and with people. Yeah. So I think he's very open to new challenges and learning.
Especially Laura. Right. Okay.
New challenge.
The next question is from...
Who knows? As I say, I don't know. There was absolutely no reason for that scene where she
wasn't.
And they came back, and there was a definite little something in the air.
We'll see. Well, Katie's question is, Alistair's scenes with Jim, Jazza and Jakob are some of my favourite moments in The Archers. Which character is your favourite to record with, and which character have you not had the chance to interact with yet but would like to?
Gosh. It's been so long now, there's virtually nobody I haven't had some kind of interaction with. What was the question? Who is my favourite?
Yes, who's your favourite to record with?
Right. Oh, there are so many. There are so many. There are so many fantastic characters, and I would probably have to say Jim, just because I just love what he does, and I think the relationship has become something really lovely. So it's always joyous to do it. But obviously that is one that I do reasonably frequently. I love it when I get to do scenes with slightly unexpected characters like Susan, Chelsea. We had those lovely scenes where Alistair was trying to kind of get sorted to go out with Denise very early on, and Chelsea managed to find the dress that worked for Denise, and those were just glorious because they're such an unlikely combination, I think, Alistair and Chelsea. But again, they discovered, a kind of friendship there, and also sometimes when you get those characters that are very unalike, it makes the playing of it more fun. So yes, there's a couple. They're people I particularly enjoy working with. But to be honest, it's one of the pleasures of the show that you don't know. You have no idea what's going to happen next. And I remember when I saw a clip of you talking to Maddie, she was talking about the speed with which she gets that script open and skims through it to see what's going to happen, and that is what we do. And it's always quite fun when you open it and you go, oh right, okay, this is someone I've not done much with. I'm very happy to play the field with Archer's characters.
You haven't recorded any scenes with the beavers yet, so maybe that'll be something. Alistair will be sharpening his beaver knowledge.
Have they actually arrived, or have I?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I don't think
allegedly.
I mean, God, no doubt they'll be bringing them into the surgery, and I'll have to get antibiotics.
Antibiotics,
Yeah.
Right, the next one comes from Gillian, and she wants to know: does he, I presume, Alistair, or maybe you, does he have any contact with Daniel these days?
Well, Alistair does. There was a reference to it just the other day, I think. I say just the other day; it might be 6 months ago, but
he did mention it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are in touch. It's just I don't know. Daniel's furrowed his own path, hasn't he? I think it's a bit sad, actually. I would like to see them, and maybe that's something that will reappear. That the generational thing is something I think the Archer does really well.
Yeah.
And the way that Jim and Alistair have rediscovered themselves, I think. I as I said earlier, I thought some of the early stuff when Alistair was first becoming Daniel's father and then adopting him was rather delightful, and I really enjoyed doing it. And then I thought it was rather a bit sad that when he grew up, he came back into our lives and then sort of drifted off. And I have a feeling it might have been one of those situations where there was something. I remember hearing stories about a storyline that was being planned for Daniel, to do with being in the army and things, and it kind of got sidelined by something else. I don't know. We never know what's behind the storyline choices, but I would love it if he reappeared at some point and there was a sort of re-establishing of that.
Yeah.
I've got a question here from Nikki, which I think we've covered, but if you've got any more to add, Michael, then do.
Okay.
But Nikki says that Jim and Alistair are two of Nikki's favourites, and the way their relationship has developed over the years has been heartwarming. Does Michael think they're destined to live together for good now, as Jim is getting on a bit now, or will Alistair want some privacy with Denise?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, I don't have the answer to this.
No.
Well, what I would say is I've made it clear I don't particularly like the idea of settling down, because I think it's kind of death to Archer's relationships in some ways. So I would prefer it curiously, I kind of quite like the idea of staying with Jim. And keeping the relationship with Denise not becoming, yes, we are now a couple, we're going to go and establish our own little place. I would rather that it was more open than that, and that he is still there. And then who knows? Maybe Laura could pop by now. No.
And Lavinia.
Lavinia, yeah. The L's.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think I honestly have no idea, but I quite like the idea of.
And her husband John can stir the pot as well, can't he? So there you go.
Yes, he took it very quickly. Sort of.
Yes.
That was one of those. Oh, there's going to be a big
yes
drama here, and then it was resolved over a cup of tea and a discussion.
He was very reasonable. Yeah,
it might be too easy. So yeah, he could easily realise he was a bit. Agreed to that too easily.
Well, the next question is from Sally, who says, you have been in a lot of dramas on TV over the years. Which was your favourite and why?
Oh, I mean, over the years I have been in lots of different things on TV, but actually I haven't often had running characters or major characters. I've done lots of kind of guests in different things, which can be fun. Ridiculously, one of my favourite things ever was playing a naked butler in Doctors. which I think is where the reference to your clients can be a look. Your clients are all lookers.
Oh, right.
Yes, that was yes, a man who'd lost his job as a lawyer and didn't want to tell his wife. So he went out of the door every morning with a
Right.
briefcase, wearing a suit, and went and worked as a naked butler for various lonely wives in the area, doing
The
their
next
iron.
step,
for a
isn't
living.
it?
It's,
Obvious, really.
it's what
Yeah.
you do. I mean, some of us have quite a lot of our time out of work, and you've got to. That was just such a laugh. And Nicola McAuliffe was my wife, which is quite a she can be quite tough. That was fun. I've just, I mean, in terms of challenging, I've just done something. It's just gone out, which is horrible. It's the first time in my life I've played somebody really, really unpleasant, and it's a very dark show, so I probably shouldn't. I wouldn't kind of say, "Oh, everyone's go and watch it," because some people won't want to. It is very dark, but that was really fascinating to do. So we did it this time last year, sort of this time last year, and it's on Paramount, called The Crow Girl, and it's a Scandi sort of
Yes, I
thing.
think of it. It's a massive book, isn't it? Axel, someone
It's a
is
massive book, and the first series on TV is kind of the first third of the book. I think it's a trilogy actually in one. And that was a big shock. I mean, I was asked if I would tape for it, and I did a self-tape, not thinking much of it, and suddenly was offered it without even meeting anybody.
Wow.
So I turned up on the set on the first day, and I'm in my trailer, and there's a knock on the door, and there's two men standing there. They said, "Just wanted to know, is everything all right?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, this is Charles, the director. This is Andy, the producer." And it's like, never met these people before. 10 minutes before shooting starts. Very unusual.
Mm.
And the part was intriguing because I knew to some extent how dark it was, and I knew what he was involved in, but I didn't know all the details because they hadn't yet written episodes 4 and 5, or no, 5 and 6. And so as it was a bit like The Archers, scripts. I was hearing rumours, and then bits of script were coming through, and then a final script would come through, and it's like, oh my god. So yes, that's quite fun at this time in my life to suddenly get something utterly different.
Oh, we'll have to have a look at it.
This one's from Kate, Michael, and it's a bit like the Daniel question. Is Alistair still in touch with Shula? It seemed like a tough end to their marriage for him since he didn't instigate the divorce. Is he over it?
I think he is. I think he was, like a lot of us would be, quite shocked when someone else says, "I want a divorce. I want you out of my life. I think this relationship isn't working because you're not giving it enough. You're not producing enough to make it work."
Except she never said that. We never got an explanation.
Well, there's a little bit of that. Wasn't there?
Little snippet.
Yeah, there was some.
Yeah.
But I actually think he's discovered there's more to life outside that relationship. I think he's happier now than he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
I think he's handled it. I think he's over it. I think they are in touch actually as well. I think maybe not like Harrison and Fallon. Not quite as often as that.
That's not going to happen, is it?
But I think they are in touch, and I think they do kind of have quite respect. I mean, what's the word? Civilized,
Yeah.
friendly contact.
So I've got a question from Angie, who's asked if you've ever watched sort of large animal veterinarian work or ultrasounding for pregnancy in a large animal, and would you, for the sake of authenticity, would you be prepared to be hands-on in that instance?
I'd give it a go. Funnily
Give it a
enough, I mean, sorry, Philippa, I'm going to talk about golf for a moment, but when I was elected last week, they took the vote. They asked if everybody is happy to vote for me to become the captain of the stage, and the hands that went up all had rubber gloves on. Which was quite cute. And then as I stood up to make my acceptance speech, the PA system started mooing at me. So the Archers lives on in every way you go.
Wonderful.
But funnily enough, one of the other members there is the guy who plays the young vet in the TV version of All Creatures Great and Small. So he and I actually sometimes play together as the vets.
Oh, wow.
And I always say to him, I feel slightly superior because I don't have to actually put my hand in those places where he has to put his.
Yes.
I have someone else do it for me.
My partner and I have just started watching that, so that's quite random. You mentioned that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we just started watching
I
it.
have to admit, I haven't actually. I've only seen little bits of it, but he's absolutely lovely
It's
man.
very cosy, comforting watch.
Does he play Tristram? No. The younger.
I can't remember which is which.
Yeah.
He's the younger one who comes in from outside.
Yeah.
I think is it the Christopher Timothy part from the?
Oh, that one. Oh, it's the main part. It's the Harriet
Well, I
part.
don't know.
Yeah.
No, or is that Sam West? I get confused. Sam
West plays Siegfried, the boss.
Then it probably is Tristram, I think.
Who's his younger son? His son. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to. We've got the final question.
Move on. Brilliant.
Final question there from Facebook, and it's from Ivory, who asked, "Do you, Alistair, still go to Gamblers Anon?"
Yes.
Phew.
Yes. Don't worry, I'm not going to get that one wrong. Because it is a question Michael, have asked once or twice, because it's sometimes just kind of drifts into, did that ever happen? And the answer I've had has always been, yes, you go to Gamblers Anonymous every week. If he doesn't, who knows what might happen? Can we have that story again for a third time? I don't know. I think all those anonymouses have to be kept up, don't they?
Brilliant.
And he does.
Yes, thank you. Well, we come to the very final question today, and it is a question posed by the last cast member we interviewed, which was Perdita, who plays Kate. And Perdita's question is given to you from Kate. And the question is, when are you going to give Jakob a pay rise?
Okay, well, there's an easy answer to that, which is it's all out of my hands. All Lovell James's. Everything is Lovell James's fault. Personally, I would give us both a rise.
Perfect. Well, Michael, it's just been an absolute joy to talk to you and discover more about Alistair Lloyd. Michael Lumsden, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Michael.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
On.